What's up, Flight fam? It's Coach Dylan, and I'm here today to talk to you about some nutritional basics. Over the next couple weeks, we're going to try to give you a little bit more support with your nutrition, a lot of information, some basics, and some plans to try to get you on track. So reach out to us if you have any specific questions or you're struggling with anything, and we'll try to do our best to address that in some videos. Today, I'm just going to go over the basics of macronutrients and then a little bit about how to kind of set yourself in a plan. But it's going to be pretty basic, so if you want a little bit more detail, just reach out to me and I'll hook you up. All right, let's get to it. So today we got our three macronutrients here. We got carbs, protein, and fats. We're going to focus on carbs first. I think it's the one that's probably the most misunderstood out of the macronutrients. So with carbs, we want to just think it's going to be our energy source. So it breaks down into glucose in the body, and that's what our body's going to use for energy. So we're thinking about performance and we're thinking about, getting results from what we're doing in the gym. We want to be able to perform at a high level in the gym, and we're going to need carbs to do that. But generally, it's been thought of as something that you want to minimize if we're trying to lose weight, and that's just not really the case. Okay, we want to think of it as an energy source, and it's going to be a valuable thing to try to help us get results. So the main sources of carbs that most people are going to have are fast digesting and slow digesting. Well, those are just your two sources. Slow digesting stuff is going to be generally a little more fiber in there. So we've got fruits and vegetables, oats, whole grains. For our fast digesting, it's going to be like white rice, white bread, cereal, candy, anything that's like sugary. So those are your two sources. We generally want to stay on the slow digesting side for, that you want to get the majority of your carbohydrates from slow digesting carbs. There are some situations where we might want to have some fast digesting carbs maybe before our workout so it can get into our bloodstream quicker, give us a little more energy, or potentially after if we want to, it might kind of aid in the absorption of protein that we might have after our workout. But for the most part, we're going to stick to those slow digesting carbs. All right. Protein is going to be the next thing we're going to talk about, and as far as I'm concerned, it's going to be the most important macronutrient to focus on for most of the people that are in here, most of the Flight fam, active people looking for body composition goals or get stronger, build performance. Protein's going to probably be the most important. That's going to drive a lot of the healthy behaviors that we're looking for. That's going to kind of get you on the right track. So that's going to be the one that I'm going to focus on today a little bit more, but if we want to look at what it is, it's going to break down into amino acids in the body, and we're going to use those as our building blocks for tissues. So muscles, tendons, ligaments, all that, bones. Protein is going to be the main source, and that's kind of what we want to think about. It's just the building blocks. All right. Typical foods you're going to see: meat, fish, and seafood, dairy, eggs. I already said dairy, cottage cheese, Greek yogurt. Those are, there's a little bit of protein in everything, so there's obviously a lot more than that, but those are kind of the typical main sources that most people have. So the next one we're going to go into is fat. I'll get on this side. With fats, what we want to think about is it's our main thing that's going to repair and regulate hormones. So testosterone, estrogen, if our fats are way too high or way too low, it can affect both those, and it's just something we want to, just like all of these, moderate and have some balance. Super important, that's going to be the main function of it, is just kind of hormone regulation. It can also be a secondary energy source, so can protein, but carbs are just going to be the most efficient source of fuel. All right, some typical fats you're going to see: oils, butters, egg yolks, meat, dairy. All right, so you can get some fats from meat too. Obviously, there's protein there. It's going to be more of a protein source, but you're going to get fat in that too. All right, so now that we kind of understand the macronutrients, just remember the kind of the main things that we're focused on with each one. Carbs, energy source. Protein is going to be your building blocks. Fat's going to be a hormone regulator, okay? So now, moving into kind of setting a plan for yourself and where to start, what does this all mean? Where I would start right now is tracking your food, getting a little bit of sense of where you're at. And you don't need to track meticulously, but I would say for the next week, write down everything you eat. After the week, you can put it into MyFitnessPal or any of these trackers. Get a sense of where you're at. And then the main thing I would focus on, like I said before, the macronutrients that's probably going to drive the most change right off the bat is going to be protein. So I would focus on trying to get a gram per pound of protein. Give that a shot. Try to be consistent for 1 week, 2 weeks. and see where you're at with that. And then in following videos, I'll talk a little bit about how you'd actually get the numbers for fats and carbs and how you might manipulate that and change things around. It's going to be a little different for everybody, but the protein one's pretty consistent. If we're training, 1 gram per pound is pretty, researched, and that's pretty much understood, can be very a good place to start. So that's all we're going to talk about today, but like I said, reach out on Instagram, shoot us an email with any questions you have, or if you just want a little more detail about this kind of thing, and I'll make sure I address it in the next videos. Good luck, give it a try, and I'll see you guys soon. Thanks for tuning in.